Hello friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. I am Jenny and today we are going to spend a little bit of time here in the shade garden along the side of our house. The main goal of today is to get the white by the gate planted where that shovel is. Bless her heart, she has been moved around and she needs a permanent home. We have found her a permanent home and today is the day that she gets to move in. This space is going to be really fun and she's going to fit perfectly on this massive huge wall because, like I said, we've got tons of room right here on this big huge wall. We do have some windows. There's a small window right here that is one above my kitchen sink, and then if you remember, of course, there we have the other one that kind of looks out from our kitchen. So white by the gate is a fantastic japonica camellia. That means that she will bloom this time of year. Really starts in maybe February and goes through now, which is end of March, 1st of April. Japonicas will tend to be the largest camellias, bigger than sasanquas, but they grow slower than sasanquas. Sasanquas are the ones that bloom in the fall. Japonicas bloom in the winter, early spring. So we have got plenty of room for her to grow. She is trellis. For now, I'm going to leave her on that temporary trellis just because I haven't found one that I want to put on the wall. I did find one, but it was several $1,000s. Jenny has good taste and that's not going to happen. So I've got to find a more affordable option for like a black wrought iron trellis that white by the gate can climb over the next however many years. So that's what we're going to do first, and then I've got a couple other things that I want to show you in this bed because they are waking up. The perennials are waking up from their winter slumber, and it's just a glorious sight. And I do have a fern that I need to move. So without any further ado, let's get white by the gate into her new home. You will remember this is where Franny's hydrangea was, and hence why I have a lovely crater right here in the middle of my shade garden. So it's actually going to work out perfect because where Franny was super wide and took up a lot of room, and she did have some height to her, the white by the gate's not going to get as big as Franny, and she will go up, which we have plenty of room for her to go up. Of course, since Franny was here, I have the perfect beginning of a hole to put white by the gate. The only thing that I have to be aware of is that in the very back of this bed, there is black corrugated pipe that runs from the downspout of the house and goes out to the front and then dumps the rainwater out in the front yard. So I can only go back so far because that corrugated pipe is just right here. Jerry found it when, here it is. Found it when we were doing Franny. So right here is as far as I can go back. I can't go any closer to the house because the corrugated pipe, is only, 6 inches underneath the soil. The reason that the corrugated pipe is not flush against the house is because we have vent wells right here. This is the part of the house that has the smallest amount of foundation because, of course, everything's on a slope. So the vent wells are here, hence this is why the corrugated pipe is here. I cannot hit the corrugated pipe or my husband will have, he will have words with me for sure. So I'm just going to start digging out this hole a little bit and go from there. Now, before I get too far into this little project of knowing where, digging my hole, I am going to go ahead and amend this soil and top dress with this black gold. It's the Ultra Outdoor Planting Mix. We have talked about this before. It's a great combination of mulch and compost, not mulch, aged pine bark fines and compost. This soil in this particular spot has not been amended because Franny sat here for 18 years and she got huge. So the soil, this particular hole where white by the gate is going to go into, is the soil from 18 years ago. Nice, beautiful North Carolina red clay. So I'm going to amend it. Even though I have my hole here, I'm going to take this black gold, put some of it in the hole, then use my auger, not necessarily to dig the hole because the hole's kind of already there, but the auger is fantastic for incorporating the outdoor mix with my native soil and makes it nice and fluffy and gets rid of my chunky red clay. Because if you have clay, you know that it's not fine and powdery, right? It comes in these huge clunks, chunks, clunks, clods. I mean, it's really, and you kind of have to, get in there and break it apart. And that's one reason that I love the auger so much, is because it turns my compacted red clay into absolute fluff. So that's the main reason that I'm using my auger here, to get that nice and incorporated and to aerate that soil. So that's what I'm gonna do. Camellia is in, got all the native soil pulled back, and I had some more of the outdoor mix left over. I went ahead and just dumped it on here. We're gonna do a top dress of this area. That way it'll kind of help fill in the missing soil that Franny took away, and it will break down and help give her, build up this soil, get my earthworms in here, so forth. All the good things, right? Yeah, so we're gonna get this in, and then I am gonna go ahead and give the camellia some holly tone. I've done this just in the last couple of videos where I planted something and I went ahead and fertilized, and people ask me, why did I do that? Well, biotone, remember, is specifically for root growth. It is focused on the roots and growing the roots. Your holly tone, your plant tone, your other tones, rose tone, are for the foliage growth, the top foliage growth, and when they produce flowers, for flower growth. So that is why I am going to go ahead and do the holly tone, because this is the time of year where you do that. Coming out of winter, going into spring, that is when you feed your perennials and your shrubs. That is why today she is going to get biotone for being planted and holly tone, because it's that time of year and it needs to be fed. When I'm putting the soil, the outdoor mix around, I'm not putting it on top of the root ball. You don't want to smother the top of your root ball, especially when you have red clay soil or clay soil, because the plant needs to be able to drain well and breathe. The roots need to breathe, and I don't want to come up here and pile a bunch of organic matter right around the crown of the plant, because it could cause rot. So it's in there, and let me grab my holly tone. I'm not going to be precise on my measurements. I'm just going to go for it. And then you just want to kind of use your fingers and kind of zhuzh the soil, work it in a little bit so it's not just straight on top. Brenna is taking her afternoon nap, so if you have animals and they're out here, this also helps a little bit as far as raking it into the soil or the compost, so that it's not just straight fertilizer sitting on top for your dogs or cats or animals around to come and munch on it. I'm going to make sure and get this new camellia nice and well watered into the ground. The soil is moderately damp, moist, but we're going to have, obviously it's a windy day. The root ball already was a little on the dry side, and we're not going to have any rain until probably 3 or 4 days from now. It's gonna be windy, the temperatures are gonna go up, and I wanna make sure that, of course, that she is nice and snugged in her new home. I'm really kind of more focusing on the root ball that was in the container than necessarily say all of the surrounding area. The root ball is what I'm really focused on because that right now is where all the roots are. But of course, you know, you come out some. This whole bed is going to get a fresh layer of mulch, so I am not going to mulch it right now because we're going to come back through with the edger and edge this bed. That makes a mess because it throws the extra soil back into the bed, and it's getting that time of the year to mulch this. It will not be a really thick mulch. It'll just be a nice little fresh coat, but we'll, of course, here we'll lay it on thick because there is no mulch here. But White by the Gate is in. All that I have to do as far as now is maintenance on this, is just to make sure that she gets plenty of water, especially in the heat of the summer. This bed is not on irrigation. At some point, if we wanted to put it on, that would certainly help. But I just need to make sure that she has consistent moisture, especially through the hottest part of the season. Now, White by the Gate here is going to get lots of morning sun, and then the house will provide it shade. This is not a full sun camellia. It does need a break from that hot afternoon sun. A couple hours of morning sun is great, not a problem whatsoever. But again, that's where I was kind of limited on where I could put this, is because I can't have it in hot afternoon sun. Again, I think it will do just fine here. We will be on the search for a trellis that we can put on the house, and as that happens, we can pull it back some and just gently have it going up. I know this is not ideal to have it this far away from the house. It'll be fine, all is well, not worried about that. Now, I do need to move the fern because the Sun King was overtaking it last year, so I know this year it'll be completely gone. So I need to move that, and then I wanted to show you, I'm going to do some fertilizing and just give you an update on how this bed is coming along, because man, there are plants popping out everywhere. They're beautiful. To give you a little bit of perspective of where we are, the White by the Gate is right there. And this is, of course, the front of the house where we just trimmed the boxwoods a couple of weeks ago. Now, coming through here, you will notice that what I have really exploding out of the ground, that is variegated Solomon seal, a wonderful perennial shade lover that it naturalizes, meaning that it spreads by rhizomes, and it comes up in this beautiful arching shape, variegated foliage with these beautiful dainty white flowers on it. And I have that underplanted here with I believe this one is the Starlight Hydrangea from Proven Winners, but you can see there's Solomon seal on both sides of it. So they are doing lovely right now. And then, of course, here we have the White by the Gate that we just planted, my Lenten roses, hellebore with a Starlight Hydrangea from Proven Winners. So what I need to do, because this does bloom on some old growth, I did not trim it, but you can easily come in now that you can have some green growth is coming back, and I will come in and just take my clippers and just take the tops off. That way I'm not cutting away any old blooms, and they are doing just fine. But you can see we have got some hostas poking up. That is Wiggles and Squiggles. I have them dotted through the landscape. You can see there is one here, and then that bright color down there on the end, that is another Wiggles and Squiggles. Here is where I have my two Sun Kings. It's a type of spikenard, and they will get, you can see there the little sticks. There's one, and then there's two. They get huge. They will come all the way up to my window box right there, and they look like one huge massive plant. It is stunning. The fern that needs to be moved, I believe this is a ghost fern, and you can see that it is showing lots of beautiful new growth. Those fronds are coming up, so now is the perfect time to move it because I can see exactly where it is, but it's not too big that I won't damage it yet. So that is coming up. And then just really throughout here, I have got hostas. I have got my holly fern back there in the back with a with a weed, a little tree coming out of the back of the bed I need to get out. But my holly fern right here, it took a hit from that 19-degree night. Even though I had it covered, it wasn't insulated enough. So it did fry all of that brown stuff. They were fronds, they were brand new fronds, but you can see it's already starting to regrow. So if you have a perennial fern that got zapped, don't worry, it will come back. And then we have Bashful Betty there from Unique Stone, my Bleeding Hearts, Eucharas, Pulmonaria. This is Spot On. That is doing wonderful. I lost one this, gosh, I guess it was the fall. So I've got one more to plant right there. My beautiful zebra hydrangea that I love and adore. And if you're wondering why in the world I have a huge trash can behind the hose, it is because that is what I used to cover zebra on that 19-degree night, because it was tall enough, big enough, and it worked fantastic. And then we've got Eucharas, of course, that look great. And then look at this. This is one of my favorite kind of new hostas. This is White Feather. And you can see all that great new growth coming up. And when it emerges, the leaves are white. It is the coolest thing ever. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to dig up the fern, transplant her a little bit in front of the camellia, and then I'm going to come back through and I am going to go ahead and fertilize this entire bed, because nothing has been fertilized yet this season. Everything is going to get plant tone except for my hydrangeas. They are going to get rose tone. Hydrangeas do really well with a slow release rose fertilizer because they have the same nutritional requirements as a rose. So my hydrangeas will receive rose tone. All the other perennials in here will get plant tone. Remember, plant tone is like your Swiss Army knife. So when in doubt, use that. And then I'm probably going to go ahead, since my hostas have emerged and I've got some good foliage on them, I'm going to go ahead and lay down my first round of slug and snail bait. This is a great option if you have a damp environment like I do here with this shade garden. It is an organic solution. It is safe to use in all applications, but what it is it's a bait for the snails and the slugs, and they come and they eat it, and basically it erupts their digestive system and it makes them, it kills them. But it is an organic solution. I'll have that linked for you. What I'm going to be using is what we have at the nursery, but we also have it on our Amazon store, so you can check that out in the video description. I used it faithfully last year, beginning this time of year and all the way through, and my hostas were gorgeous. I had no holes in them, just really, really nice. And I apply it every couple of weeks. If it rains, you need to do it more often, but man, I'm telling you, it was a lifesaver for my hostas and their foliage, and so they were beautiful. So I'm gonna move the fern and take care of some things, and then I'll meet you back here in a minute. My friends, I only have one more garden task to do today, and then this little project will be complete. Okay, let's start back from the beginning that you saw me do after we planted the camellia. I went ahead and dug up the ghost fern, and when I was digging it up, it acted like it wanted to go ahead and split because it was nice and big, and I said, hey, Why have one ghost fern when you can have two? So I went ahead and divided it very much like you do a hosta, dug it all the way up, around, loosened all the roots on it, and then put the shovel down in the middle and then just stepped on it really hard and just sliced it in two. I put one fern on each side of the camellia, so it will kind of flank the camellia in the front, and then I will probably come in and put like a low growing annual in front of it, either like the Broalia or a double impatient, something like that, to kind of fill in the gap between the two ferns. And then I went ahead and gave everybody food. The hydrangeas got rose tone and everybody else got plant tone. When you lay down your slow release fertilizer, if you've got mulch on the ground, you want, of course, to sprinkle it around the drip line so you have the plant, and then you just go around the edge of the plant. And then I went back, first I was using my hands just to kind of break up the mulch a little bit to get in there and so that the fertilizer can sink down into the soil. Or then I moved to my Cobra and used that little tool to kind of help break things up a little bit. You just don't want the fertilizer sitting on top of the mulch. You want the fertilizer to get as close to the roots as you possibly can. If you're not going to get any rain anytime soon, go ahead and water the bed in. Today is Monday. We're supposed to get rain on Thursday. That's not that big of a deal as opposed to like the Camellia. Camellia needed water. The fertilizer, it'll be fine. There's no need to rush on that. Let's see if there's anything else that we did. Nope, I think that was it. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and apply that Slug and Snail bait. I'm telling you, it's the easiest thing to keep your hostas looking gorgeous. Let me show you how easy it is. So here we have a beautiful specimen of Wiggles and Squiggles hosta. And you can tell that she is coming out glorious, beautiful foliage on that. I love this hosta because it's small, petite, fits perfect in the front of your landscape, and it has some texture and of course that gorgeous color to it. I want to keep my leaves intact. So what I use is this Slug and Snail bait. This one is from Espoma. There are other companies that make basically the same thing, and it's super simple. So let me show you inside. See, it's just pellets. It's just little pellets that we're going to take. See, look at that. And then basically you are just going to sprinkle it around the perimeter in the area of your hosta. It is as simple as that. You can just lay it out. Of course, if you can do it before you see damage, then that is best. So we are just going to go through here, and I am going to sprinkle all around my hostas so that they stay looking beautiful. Alrighty friends, and that is it for today. All of the projects are complete. Man, it feels good to have this bed semi done, and I say semi because we do need to come through an edge so we get a nice hard edge for the summertime. It just makes mowing the grass 1,000 times easier when you have that nice edge between your grass and your mulch. And then we'll come through and give a nice top layer of mulch to everybody, and then we'll get to plant all of the different containers with our summer annuals. Oh my gosh, that's so much fun. I will be sure, of course, and bring you back when I do the planting, and you will be amazed at how much this bed will have woken up in that short amount of time, in those couple of weeks. This is where I think you can go out in your garden and you can just like see the growth from day 1 to day 2 to day 3. It is so much fun. Yeah, so even if you have just, 30 minutes or 5 minutes or an hour, if you have a whole day, it's great. Get outside, do what you can. I know some of you are still under snow. Hang in there, guys. That is one of the perks of living in the South, is that spring comes early. But yeah, we are thoroughly enjoying it. So as always, thanks so much for gardening with Creekside. Y'all have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.